Remember how in the last review I said I was only going to break the rule for Origins just once? Yeah, that lasted. So during the development of Sonic 2 happening in the States, Sega of Japan were working on another game, Sonic CD, which was released in Japan of 1993. With the success of Sonic the Hedgehog, surely releasing a title on new hardware would sell tons of copies, right? Right? Since Yuji Naka was working on Sonic 2 in the States, programming was left Matsuhide Mizoguchi, with Naoto Oshima taking the director's position. The game was originally going to be a port of Sonic 1 with the addition of the Sega CD capabilities, but it changed to what we got later in development. The team got Toei Animations to produce the animated intro and the ending, and the music, composed by Naofumi Hataya and Masafumi Ogata, and was inspired by house and techno, two genres that were very popular in Japan at the time. But the music was changed in North America, being composed by Spencer Nelson, David Young, and the Sterling crew, which delayed the North American release by 2 months. This includes a different intro theme, and, as to quote Den of Geek, they described the US soundtrack as being more orchestral, rocking, a bit more epic and mournful, with a sense of dread. And they were not kidding with a sense of dread. I first played this years ago when it was released on Sonic Gems Collection. It was one of the biggest selling points of that collection. But they used the US soundtrack for, I believe, all releases. It was definitely the same in the UK. And I could not get past the second stage because of that boss music. I thought it may have been a one-off because I'm an idiot kid, and plus that first boss is easy. As soon as I heard it as the second one, nope, I'm done. It completely creeped me out. It still gives me the heebie-jeebies to this day, actually. Now, I am playing the Origins port, reason being that this is the only version I can play without resorting to emulation, and there are 0 load screens in this version. I will be playing on Classic mode, so this removes the drop dash and it adds the unlimited lives, but it's the build from the Christian Whitehead rebuild. Starting the game and changing the soundtrack to Japan because I don't want nightmares right away, we can see the Toei animation right away to the track You Can Do Anything. North Americans are more familiar with Sonic Boom, and where it is a good song, You Can Do Anything has more energy to it in my personal opinion. The intro doesn't tell you a whole lot about the story, so let me. During the last month of every year, Little Planet appears above Never Lake. One year, Robotnik chains it to the big planet and begins turning it into his new fortress. Yep, his defeat was so bad in Sonic 2, he decides he doesn't want to build a new fortress from scratch, he'd rather kidnap an entire planet as the skeleton. That's pure madness if you ask me. He also uses the time stones to control the flow of time. Sonic then heads to the planet's surface to stop the Mad Doctor. The first zone is Palm Tree Panic, and this is both loud and colourful. More colourful than Sonic 2, likely the Sega CD at work, and that music is definitely CD quality. Incredibly upbeat. So this game is much shorter than Sonic 2, only having 7 zones, but we are back to 3 acts. Kind of. There are 4 versions of each stage. This incorporates to the time travel mechanic. To travel through time, you must run through these past or future posts. After reaching and maintaining speed, you will initiate time travel. The 4 states are the present, where you begin, past, good future, and bad future. By default, you'll be sent to the bad future by travelling forward in time. To get a good future, you'll need to travel to the past, hunt down these robot generators, and destroy them. You can time travel back to the present, then back to the future, and there's your good future. The problem is trying to travel itself. You have to maintain speed like the DeLorean, but unlike the DeLorean, the level design isn't the greatest. We are back to Sonic 1 level design, where the levels don't cater well to Sonic's speed. A little bit better than Sonic 1, but not by much. And this hinders the time travelling gimmick. It also nerfs his brand new ability, the Super Peel Out. Holding up and jump, Sonic begins to rev himself and takes off at blinding speeds. Thing is, you can get hit. You might as well just use the spin dash, and that's true for the rebuild. In the original, you actually had to charge the spin dash, you couldn't just mash A, and that kills the pace. It's like the developers are saying, here, we built you a new move, and by God you will be using it. When you reach the third act of each zone, you begin in the future, and whether it's a good or bad future depends on whether you destroy the generators in both stages or a second way, which I'll get to later. These are extremely short stages with a boss at the end. The bosses are interesting despite being extremely easy. It's no longer about hitting them 8 times, but it's trying to hit them in general. First boss only takes 2 or 3 hits and blocks you with these bumper arms, but he lowers them after walking backwards and reaches the edge of the screen. Huh. You'd think you'd still have your defences up when you're having a temper tantrum like that. Breaking the container at the end doesn't release animals, but flowers. Flowers? It's the same for the robots. Apparently the flora on the planet has the ability to power his mech, so a smaller scale version of Shinra. The second stage... Oh, Amy! Yeah, she debuts in this game. She's seen at the end of Palm Tree Panic Act 2 as well. Well, this is her debut, but she's not the only reoccurring character. That's right, Metal Sonic, the one we know. This is the Metal Sonic design they stick with after the classic era, and he would definitely have transformations in later games, and he was also in the Sonic OVA 3 years later. Anyways, Metal Sonic kidnaps Amy and flies off, and you chase after her. So, collision chaos, and chaos is correct. This stage is a bouncy pinball nightmare. This stage has the pinball flippers, these orbs that stop you when pinballing, and these bumpers. It also includes the little baby cousin of the slicers, and just like the baby cousins that you give the third party controller that your gran got you for your birthday because it's terrible and he has no skill, these slicers are the same. They actually spend a second winding up their blades before they fire, so they aren't a problem. They're also called the Kama Kama, but I prefer to give them the name Slicer Jr. The boss of this zone is Pinball. You need to reach the top to hit the Mad Doctor, but this is where I stopped in Gems Collection. I beat the first boss quickly, but when I heard the music again and more of it, I couldn't. The Japanese version of the music also has a laugh, but it's not pitched low. It's kinda goofy, and the music is great. Tidal Tempest follows up, and Labyrinth Zone. It looks and feels like it as well. Music is peaceful though. That's something I forgot to mention. Every time period has its own theme. The past themes tends to sound very peaceful, Bad Future is something more harsh sounding, fitting the dystopian future, and then you can have a peaceful or triumphant for the good future, fitting the utopia. The boss... Right, does the Doctor really have an IQ of 300? And I don't even need to explain. Just look at this. Quartz Quadrant is a quarry, likely digging for jewels, hence the name. Now, it was this zone I noticed a very interesting touch with the Bad Future. So, you can see these scorpion enemies named Sussery. They can fire projectiles with their tail, but if you hit the Bad Future, they are decayed and damaged. So much so that they can no longer shoot. I really like that touch, and it does happen to a couple of other enemies in the game. Very good attention to detail. The boss is also pretty interesting. So the Doctor has you running on a conveyor belt. You have to dodge the bombs he tries to drop on you. Now, as you run, you cannot get close, but since you jumped on the machine when you first walked into the room, it dropped. So as you run on the belt, you're grinding away at the machine. For this stage, I need to give a very quick flashing lights warning. It's not that bad, but I feel it's best if I put one in just in case. So if you want to skip this, skip to this timestamp on the screen right now. Wacky Workbench basically just stresses me out. This stage has a floor that propels you way high up at Mach 5 speed, and it turns this whole thing into a vertical maze. There's vents that's shooting out cold air, cold enough that it freezes you, and these electrical cables that will damage you if you touch it. And unlike in Mania where they have it in Flying Battery, you cannot break these ones. The boss is a massive drill. So he flies up and then some debris falls to the floor, which can crush you if you're standing right underneath it. But this debris also has to be used as platforms, because as the bouncy floor activates, there's also an electrical beam going right across as you are fired up. Now, you cannot just stand on these platforms. It will not take you all the way. You have to jump from one to another and then that will get you enough height to get you to the next part of the boss. Don't do this for the last one though. This happens. Stardust Speedway is the fastest level, but it is not like Starlight Zone. The speed is automatically earned through these tubes, and the boss is a race against Metal Sonic. It's a thing. You see, you have to beat Metal Sonic and not get hit by Robotnik's insta-kill laser. Lower defense while reversing, using a Nemesis's lifeline as a shield. Insta-kill laser you haven't used before or since. Are we sure he's got 300 IQ? I don't know, the boss is iconic, but it just didn't do it for me. It was very underwhelming in the grand scheme of things. You save Amy at the end of this and then move to the final zone, Metallic Madness. It's very reminiscent of Scrap Brain Zone. It has the saw blades and these spinny platforms, but we do have a new gimmick, like
Tiny Sonic.
Oh, he's so cute! You could have sold this as a toy on a Kinder Surprise and oh, he went squish. The boss, which is the final boss, is pathetic. Robotnik is in a mech with 4 of these panels, I guess, and he only requires 4 hits. He just moves left and right. First moment to hit is when he lowers slowly. 2 is when he fully lowers and kind of moves to the right. 3rd is when he fires panels like missiles and then lowers again. And the 4th is when he turns the mech into a giant pogo stick. Now, the Japanese music for this version is fantastic. Yes, the boss is easy, but this music screams final boss. The US music doesn't change the boss theme though, and I have no clue why. Doesn't that confuse people? Doesn't that make you think there's going to be another stage following Metallic Madness? This instead is followed by a cutscene where Sonic is escaping the collapsing Metallic City with Amy, and Little Planet is unchained and leaving for another year. Now, if you don't destroy all the generators in the past, Little Planet returns once again chained and looking like a mechanical dystopia, but there is another way to avoid the bad ending. The Time Stones are this game's collectible MacGuffin. You get these through special stages. Accessing them is exactly the same in Sonic 1. 50 rings make giant ring appear next to signpost. The special stage is a 3D stage with one objective. Destroy all the UFOs in the allotted time to get the stone. Some UFOs will give you things like speed boost and other things will give you rings. When you have 20 seconds left on the clock, another optional UFO will appear to give you extra time. And do not touch the water, you will lose a lot of time. I'm in 2 minds about this stage. Sure, it's very unique, but I sometimes have really bad timing trying to hit these things, and I have no clue if it's just me or the level. And it is especially apparent in later stages. When you get all of them, all future stages will automatically be the good future. Apart from Stardust Speedway Act 3, because that theme is awesome and it seemed to become Metal Sonic's theme. And you get the good ending where all the flowers appear and the game says, I'm cool. Oh, stop it, game. Shucks. I already have an overinflated ego. And that's all it is. Bragging rights. This game, it's actually a letdown for me. The stages remind me of Sonic 1, any level past Green Hill and before Starlight, because I feel you cannot take advantage of Sonic's speed. And in turn, for this game, it damages the gimmick. Yes, there are sections where there are 2 springs side by side, but that feels like you're just putting a blaster on a broken leg. If you need to add this to utilise the time travel feature, that's bad level design. The music, barring a few tracks, are pretty forgettable, but some notable ones are, of course, Sonic Boom and You Can Do Anything, Japan's version of present-day Pamchi Panic, Japanese Bad Future Metallic Madness, and both of Stardust Speedway's Bad Future musics, as well as all the boss music, for better or for worse. It's a handful, but unfortunately it's a fraction of the OST. The Japanese version is certainly a lot more memorable, just because it's upbeat, but let's just get to the verdict. time travel story on a brand new world, and the villain has the entire new world hostage and has the power of time on his side. This is a frighteningly terrifying plot device, and I actually do think the stakes are at its highest so far. The levels are extremely colourful, and the music is definitely CD quality. Each time period matches where it is, and music adding to this. Problem is that the music is also very forgettable. For a stronger system, Sonic's design remained unchanged. Maybe they just exported the original, whether it was to keep the originality and not scare returning fans, I'm unsure. Sonic controls the same, and luckily in this version the spin dash is the same as Sonic 2, so I won't dock points for that. Unfortunately, the super peel out and, in extension, the time travelling are near obsolete due to the level design. There are a lot of things that can halt you, and this kills the action as well as the time travel gimmick. Gathering all the stones or destroying all the generators are just for bragging rights. The bosses are far too easy and pathetic. There are just so many moments in the gameplay aspect that falls completely flat. I'm sorry guys, I really am. There are too many issues I have with this game that is more of a step back rather than a step forward. I did try and enjoy it, I really did. There's just far too many issues. But if you do enjoy this game, this is just my opinion. But you have more power over that. You enjoyed the game, I am not taking that away from you. More power to you, you can see something I can't. But I want to take a look at some of the art from the original Sega CD version. Now in the original version, there are some Easter eggs you can find via the sound test. First off, we've got Tails in front of a car saying see you next game, so either this is a Sonic Drift ad or it's a car ad, one of the two. There's Baby Sonic and oh, this is adorable. Fine. I know what you guys are waiting for. Fun is infinite with Sega Enterprises signed by Majin. This weird sprite of Sonic has been named by the Sonic horror community as Majin Sonic. So when the last game was Rewrite, this game is Majin. Fine. I'm going to look at some Sonic horror games. One thing though, bear with me, I might be a little while.